Hi everyone, this is Tea Fougner. I'm the editorial director for comics at King Features Syndicate and comicskingdom.com, and I'm here today to talk with Erica Schultz, the writer on Legacy of Mandrake. Hi Erica.
Hello, thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us. So you are the writer on a new miniseries from StoneBot and Red 5 called Legacy of Mandrake. And this is it's a comic based on Mandrake the Magician.
Yes.
Before we talk about Legacy of Mandrake, I'd love to get to know you a little bit. So if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, I think that would be awesome.
Well, I am a writer, editor, and letterer. I've written for Marvel, DC, Image, Dynamite, a bunch of different publishers, and now StoneBot and Red 5 and King Features. I used to work as a background artist and animator at a studio in New York called Continuity Studios. And I love sequential storytelling. I really do, whether it's comics or storyboarding things. I just love the idea of telling stories and creating an emotional connection between characters and the story and an audience. And I hope that's what we did with Mandrake here.
Thank you. So are you working on anything else you want to tell us about? Do you have any other projects that are really exciting for you right now?
I do actually. Forgotten Home, which is a Comixology original series. The trade paperback is out at the end of June. So if you want to pick that up on Comixology Unlimited, Kindle Unlimited, or Prime Reading. I'm also an editor for Mad Cave Studios, and we're going to be announcing a lot of fantastic new books coming out. Unfortunately, I can't talk about them just yet. And then this great series that we're doing with StoneBot and Red 5 and King Features.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about your other projects. So Legacy of Mandrake. Now, this is a book that is based on Mandrake the Magician, which is a comic that started in 1934 by Lee Falk. It was a newspaper comic strip. So do you want to tell us a little bit about who Mandrake is?
Mandrake is a character who is basically a crime fighter. He travels all over the world, solving mysteries, solving crimes. He had in the original comic strip, he had a sidekick, this man named Lothar, who was actually he was, I believe, the crown prince of this African nation, and he ends up leaving his home to travel the world with Mandrake. There were some bits in the original that were a little racy for nowadays. There was a lot of social issues that really were not dealt with properly in the original comic. So obviously we wanted to make sure that not only when we were working on Mandy, and updating it, but also making sure that these are things that we are going to address in terms of inequality and giving characters more agency and giving characters more space and things like that, more representation.
Thank you. So what did you know about Mandrake before you started working on this project?
I did not. I was very unfamiliar. Like, I had heard the name Mandrake just in general, and it's funny because I actually work with Tom Mandrake at the Kubert School. So anytime I would hear Mandrake, I would always think about him, or I would think about other artists and things like that. But the character of Mandrake the Magician, I wasn't familiar with at all, and so I did some deep dive research, and you at King Features helped give me some more original strips and stuff to look at and really get the feel of it. But the character is, he's this very heroic kind of, even when I'm wrong, I'm right kind of character. And he, basically fights for the good of the world kind of thing. There's a lot of other sort of evil magicians and, thieves and would-be despots, and he is the one who's going to step in and find a way to take them down.
Great. So what was that when you were looking at all of these, and I remember you did a lot of research and really dug into those old comics. What was your favorite thing about the original character?
I liked the fact that he sort of made no apologies for using his magic, and he wasn't worrying about having this sort of secret identity. He was as the comic progressed, because it started in 34 and it went all the way to, I think, was it the 90s or early 2000s? It kept going. But Lee Falk.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I think it's actually until like the 2010s. It ended in like the 2010s.
I mean, Lee
ended
Falk
pretty
wasn't on
recently.
it the whole time, though.
No.
But in the originals, when that Lee Falk was on it, Mandrake didn't have a secret identity, and he was later on, like in the later 30s, he was kind of almost like a household name. So like he would show up on the shores of this, place, and it would be like, oh, you're the great Mandrake, and people would more or less like try and solicit his help. We've got this, terrible thing going on, or one time I think they were in like Morocco. There was like, the black market, thieves market, and you have to bust the thieves market because all this crazy stuff is going on. So he made a name for himself. He made no apologies for who he was, and he just sort of like swept into town, solved your problem, and I'm on to the next mystery. He was kind of like the Alan Quartermain consummate adventurer kind of character.
Yeah, thanks. So now that brings us up to today, and you're working on Legacy of Mandrake. And Legacy of Mandrake introduces a new character. So if you can tell us a little bit about her, I think we're all really excited to meet her.
Mandragora Tirado Paz, or Mandragora Constanza Tirado Paz, is Mandy Paz. She is well, I don't want to give anything away, but she is related tangentially to Mandrake. And her mother and Mandrake were friends. And she has the ability to wield magic like Mandrake did. She's a magician, though she's untrained, really. So she has a lot of raw ability, but not a lot of discipline with it. And so there's a lot of room for these sort of like funny moments where she's like, oh, this is totally going to work. And it totally doesn't. She is a typical 17-year-old girl. She's got, high school that she has to worry about, and college applications that she has to worry about. And, sometimes she butts heads with her mom, so it's not, and on top of all of that, she's got this, otherworldly power that she can't always control. So, there's a lot that she's sort of having to deal with. But she has a best friend who is like her anchor. He really, he tries to keep her kind of on the straight and narrow, and tries to remind her, like, look, yes, the weight of the world might feel like it's on your shoulders, but you can do this, you can handle it, and you can lean on me. And her best friend LJ is actually the son of Lothar, who we're hearkening back to the original sidekick of Mandrake, the original magician. So I was always putting in my scripts the OG Mandrake. So we brought in Lothar from the original comics as, a secondary character as the dad, who is, very supportive of his son. He knows about all the magical elements in the world and stuff. In this version, though, we are giving Mandy and LJ secret identities, because you think about it, like, you're a teenager, you have enough to worry about. Like, the last thing you want to do is have people knocking on your door because, you're some famous superhero now.
Yeah, no, that would probably be a problem. They can't just like pick up and go gallivanting around the world like
exactly.
Yeah. So when we talk talking about Mandy, you really built this character from the ground up, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit about. You talked a bit about her life. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about who she is as a person and the character aspects, the sort of personality you created for her, and what qualities about her are really important to you.
She is a very proud Latinx woman. She is, I mean, I got a lot of direction from StoneBot, from King Features as well. But Mandy is a very proud Latinx girl. She is, she's very confident, but she's like a lot of teenage girls in the sense that, you know, she will project this confidence and then deep down she's questioning herself. So she's not only questioning herself just in general life, you know, life choices, but also using magic and things like that. She's a bit snarky. Um, she's fun. She likes making people laugh. She also likes the fact that she has a little edge on people with the magic. And so she knows that you can't just like go around maliciously bullying people, but you know, she also knows that when she sees an injustice, she might, you know, do a little twinkle to get, get a little, little edge on somebody.
So that actually brings up Mandy's powers, which obviously are really central to the story that you're
Yes.
telling. And I know, from talking to you while we've been working on the book, that you really thought very hard about how Mandy's powers worked and how you wanted to set up the magic system for Mandy's world. And so I'd love to hear more about how you approached creating this magic system.
Well, I mean, I think there needs to be like rules when it comes to magic because a lot of times people will be like, oh, well, it's just magic, just fix it with magic. So I think there needs to be rules. And we tried to create this sort of world where, Mandy has a lot of different abilities. She learns to be able to create figure images of herself, which is basically like astral projection, which is something from the original Mandrake comic strip, where Mandrake would project himself sort of across space to be able to give a message to someone. So Mandy sort of slowly learns how to do that. She learns how to do what's called telepathic hypnosis, this idea of sort of bringing someone into a mindscape. But it's not like she can't just like snap her fingers and disappear. Like it's not something that easy. She is learning defensive magic as well as offensive magic. And a lot of it comes down to sort of like using like, blasts and sort of like almost like pushing people away to be able to sort of like clear the way. It's like, okay, I don't really want to start punching and kicking, but if I have to, I will. But let's just move you out of the way, like almost telekinesis kind of thing. But she's definitely, there's so many abilities that the original Mandrake had going through all the strips. And it almost seemed like every comic strip, there was this new power that was revealed. And I didn't want to, pile all that on Mandy because she is a novice. And when we start with the original Mandrake, he's already a master. So he already knows, exactly what he can do and such. So I wanted to make sure that Mandy had these, goof up moments, but also doesn't realize like the true abilities that she has.
That's really cool. And then one of the things that we see in Legacy of Mandrake is that Mandy's not the only one who we meet with powers. LJ also has powers, but his are a little bit different. And I think it's really interesting how the dynamic with their powers and the dynamic with their friendship work together. So if I'd love to hear a little bit about how you built that relationship. It's a really important relationship in the book, and sort of about their each of their relationship to their powers.
In the when you're starting off reading this new series, LJ, there's sort of a bit of a contention between Mandy and LJ because Mandy doesn't originally know that LJ has abilities, and he's sort of kept that from her. And through one of the plot points, he reveals them, and she's kind of like, whoa, 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 why didn't you say anything? And his reasoning behind that was a couple, it was, two, threefold. One, she defines herself a lot by her abilities, and he being such a supportive friend, he didn't want to be like, oh, well, I have powers too, so you're not so special. He wanted to be supportive. Secondly, his powers are way more limited than hers. He has basically defensive abilities. He can create sort of defending shields, and he uses that to protect her when she's fighting and to protect the people that the civilians that are kind of caught in the crosshairs of these conflicts that they come across. And also, LJ's basic role is, I'm a loyal friend. I love Mandy like a sister, and I just want to help her. And sometimes when people are a little more special than others, their egos are kind of fragile. So sometimes you kind of have to take a bit of a back seat to not, pop the balloon of your best friend. And trust me, I get it. But he's definitely, their relationship is super important just in general because Mandy has a single mom. Mabel, her mom, is a single mom. So Mandy doesn't have a lot of people in the world to really count on. And LJ, because LJ's dad comes from this idea of magic, and LJ's dad comes from this world of magic, there are very few people that really understand it. And so LJ is one of those people who understands Mandy. And Mandy, because she's snarky and she dresses a little different and stuff, she tends at school, she's kind of like the weird kid. So LJ is kind of a weird kid too. So it's almost like the freaks and geeks, kind of, they bond together that way. And it helps that, their parents have known each other forever and stuff. So they really have like a very sort of familial kind of relationship. Maybe it'll be something more, who knows? Not saying anything, just maybe there'll be a love triangle. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
All right.
There are ideas. There are ideas written in the notebook.
So, I'm excited about this notebook. I haven't seen this notebook, so I'm looking forward to it. So, I think that beyond the characters, you also did quite a lot of work creating Mandy's world, and one of the things that that I've noticed reading your scripts, and I think was really exciting to see, was how much you built reference into your scripts. And I know that you have an art background yourself, and that but when you're writing, you really do quite a lot of research and quite a lot of recommendations in terms of what sorts of references the artist might want to use for world building and what kind of world you want to create. And I'd really like to hear more about that process.
Well, I know that, a lot of people will just say, oh, well, the writer just writes the scripts, hands it off to the artist, and the artist does all the work. And there are times that is the case. A lot of times when it comes to building these, otherworldly kind of things, you want to be able to say to the artist, this is the idea that I have in my head. This is not edict, but I hope that this image, this, video clip, this, quick thing here, quick GIF, I hope that this at least sparks your mind into expanding this, into bringing this more to life. I hope it gives you just a little inspiration to bring it more to life. I like giving artists reference. I know that sometimes in script writing, it's really difficult to articulate exactly what you're thinking. So having an art background, I'll do thumbnails sometimes in the script. There's a sequence in one of the scripts where it's a 12-panel page, and I know 12 panels is like, holy crap, 12 panels is a lot. But I thumbnailed it out, and I said, this is how I'm picturing it, and this is how it would work. So, use this to try and figure it out. If you can find a better way to do it, good on you. But if not, this is how it will fit in 12 panels. And I know a lot of artists may kind of almost be taken aback by getting thumbnails from a writer. But I remind them, I'm like, look, I have, been a background artist and an inker and a colorist and stuff. So I'm staying in my lane technically, still kind of thing, because my lane is basically the highway. But I want to be able to, I want the artist to at least have a starting off point. Like, I don't want them to feel like they're starting at nothing with just a couple of words on the page. I want them to be able to grab some of the inspiration and say, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let's do it like this, or let's do it like that. And especially with some of the main characters were basically designed off the bat. But some of the other characters, we kind of had discussions with Matthias over at StoneBot and the art team over there about, what kind of characters are we looking for in terms of some of the bads? Are they this type of character? Are they that? Are they anthropomorphic? Are they, more like Clayface kind of, bleh, blobs kind of thing? Like, how are they? So there was a lot of discussion with the art team on it, because it really is, it's a collaborative process. Comics are a collaborative process, and you want to make sure that everybody is able to throw in their bit on Stone Soup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a great way of putting it. So you mentioned bads, and I don't want you to give too much away, but it sounds like Mandy's going to have a conflict in the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every Mandy will feel what a lot of teenage girls feel, is she will trust in someone, and that trust will be betrayed, and things get ugly, and Mandy's got to find a way to, she has to find a way to sort of find her own agency, to find her own abilities, and not just like the magical abilities, but just like the confidence within herself. Because a lot of times, especially with teenage girls, confidence is a lot of times it's just sort of like a projection versus actual, true, genuine, I believe in myself. So Mandy's going to have some hurdles that she's going to have to jump over, and to really, at the end of this, come out as on top as she can.
I'm so looking forward to seeing these finished books. We're still in the process, and it's just so exciting. So
Getting
I hope
pages
everybody else.
Getting pages is
Yeah.
fun. Seeing
Yeah.
it come to life is always really great.
So the lead artist on this project is Diego Garibaldi, who's just been doing such a phenomenal job. You'll be seeing some of his artwork as we go through this video. So it's just every single facial expression is just like, oh, they're so good. They're so good.
That's the thing, is the acting is really important, and Diego really gets the acting, really gets the the snarkiness, these like almost like micro expressions on the face that really show the emotional conflict between Mandy and Mabel, or Mandy and this bully at school, and things like that. And really, I mean, they do a really fantastic job.
Yeah, there's so many good eye rolls in this, and
as every teenage girl is just all about the eye roll.
It's really great. So yeah, so I'm so excited to share more of this with everyone. So I think one of the things that's interesting about this project for me is that it's effectively, it's not just taking a legacy character who's been around a long time and updating that character. It's effectively building a brand new character off the groundwork of a legacy character. And for you know, what was that process like, and what were some of the maybe most fun parts of it? What were some of the most difficult parts of it?
Well, yeah, because in this world, the OG Mandrake still exists. You know, people know who that character was, and he's still around, or at least the knowledge of him is still around. So it's not like Mandy is just this brand new character and no one's ever heard of magic before. Like, people have heard of Mandrake. Um, some of the most fun parts were grabbing like little Easter eggs throughout from a lot of the really old strips, um, with references to certain characters, references to certain locations that are very important. One of the things is that Mandrake and many of the magicians like him all attend this sort of one school, um, basically called the College of Magic. There's a very loquacious Latin version of it, and I'm not even going to attempt it. It's like Collegium de Magicosis or something like that. I'm not even going to attempt it. But basically, there's, so there are characters that are from that I kind of wanted to hint at, and I wanted to just pay homage to. Some of the other things, like I said before, was, there are some really, not cool stuff in the original comic strips in terms of how women are treated, in terms of how minorities are treated and such. So I wanted to make sure that we took the good inspirational parts, and then all that, misogyny and racism and garbage, we're like, nope, that's not even, we're making Lothar a character with his own agency. He's nobody's sidekick. We refer to him as Mandrake's partner versus his sidekick, because that phrase sidekick is already like denigrating, so he was partners with Mandrake. He worked with Mandrake. He traveled, and he gave um, insight, whereas in the original, he's literally just like this, strong man who basically is just the muscle for Mandrake. And we didn't want that. We wanted to we gave him heart. We made him a dad. He's, he loves his son. He cares about Mandy. He's close friends with Mabel. He's kind of like the big grizzly bear with a heart kind of thing. So we wanted to do that. And then just, for people who are familiar with the original Mandrake, we have a couple of characters pop up, here or there, just to sort of give them like, oh yeah, I remember so-and-so, or, oh, I recognize that character. Oh, they mentioned this person. Oh, maybe they'll be doing something else, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's also a couple characters who are, who are clearly related to other characters from the original, where those characters don't necessarily show up, but you see some familiar surnames come into the mix, and it's really fun to see where their families landed in this next generation. So yeah, I think we're pretty much we're close to time here, but I did want to ask you what you hope people will take away from this book.
My goal always is to write a book that is enjoyable and fun and has an emotional hook for an audience. So I don't want people to look at this series and say, oh, it's a superhero book, I'm not into superhero books, or, oh, it's a magic book, I'm not into magic books. I want them to look at this and say, oh, this is a book about a young woman finding her place in the world and having to navigate not only just being a regular teenager, which is in and of itself is its own issues, but having to navigate this, having this ability and the responsibility of this ability, and, the good and the bad that comes with it. And, you look at any superhero, the second somebody knows you have superpowers, you have a target on your back, So she is fun, she is sassy, she's vulnerable, and she's not the character who can do everything and is perfect and everything. No, she's very flawed, and she admits it. And you see a lot of her personal growth throughout this as well. So I just hope people want, if you want to read just a fun book about a cool teenager who's finding her way and kicking ass along the way and learning some stuff about herself, then this is definitely a book that you need to pick up. And
Thank
if you like
so
magic, great.
much, Erica. Yes, and if you like magic. Thank you so much, Erica. I'd just like to, real quick, let us know where people can find you and your work online.
Okay, so my socials are Erica Schultz, SCHULTZ 42 on Twitter, or Erica Schultz Writes, WRITES on Instagram, and I'm at ericaschultzwrites.com. And obviously this is going to be on like the King Features website and the StoneBot website and the Red 5 website, so you can definitely look to pick it up through that.
Yeah, and we're really, really excited to share Mandy with everyone. So thanks everybody for joining us today. You can actually read the original Mandrake if you want to get a head start on comicskingdom.com, and follow Comics Kingdom at Comics Kingdom on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you all so much for being with us, and have a great rest of your Comic-Con at home.